Jake Morrison crawled through the broken concrete tunnel beneath what used to be downtown Denver. 3 months had passed since the aliens came from the sky with their bright ships and deadly weapons. 3 months since the world changed forever. The Zephyrians had taken every major city on Earth in just 2 weeks. Their energy beams could turn a building to dust in seconds. Their shields could stop any weapon humans threw at them. Jake stopped at a crack in the tunnel wall and peered through it. Above him, the ruins of the city stretched out like broken teeth. Twisted metal and melted glass covered the ground where people once walked and worked. The aliens patrolled the streets in their floating vehicles. They looked like walking crystals with too many arms and glowing eyes. They moved in perfect lines and never made mistakes. Behind Jake, 3 other people crawled through the tunnel. Lisa Rodriguez had been a soldier before the invasion. She knew how to fight and how to stay alive. Ben Carter used to fix radios and computers. Now he helped the resistance groups talk to each other without the aliens hearing them. Susan Blake had worked as an engineer. She could make almost anything work with spare parts and determination. The 4 of them had been living underground for weeks. They ate canned food they found in destroyed stores. They drank water from broken pipes. They slept in shifts because the aliens never stopped hunting for humans. Every day was about staying alive and finding small ways to fight back. Jake had noticed something strange about the alien patrols. They always avoided certain areas of the city. At first he thought it was random, but after watching for days, he saw a pattern. The aliens stayed away from places where old human machines still worked. They avoided the subway tunnels where electric trains once ran. They went around buildings that still had power. Lisa crawled up beside him and whispered into his ear. She had been watching the aliens, too. She pointed to a patrol moving down the street. The crystal beings walked in a straight line until they reached an old radio tower. Then they suddenly changed direction and went around it. They did this every time. Ben Carter had been listening to radio signals for weeks. He told them that certain frequencies seemed to make the aliens uncomfortable. When old emergency broadcasts played on certain channels, the alien patrols would move away from the source. It was like the sounds hurt them somehow. 200 miles away in Boston, Dr. Alex Turner was having the same thoughts. He had been a physics professor before the invasion. Now he lived in an abandoned subway station with 12 other survivors. They had been studying pieces of alien technology they found after battles. The alien weapons and shields used energy in ways that human science barely understood. Turner had noticed that the alien equipment sometimes stopped working when it got near certain human devices. Old computers, radio transmitters, and even simple electrical circuits could cause problems for the alien technology. He spent days testing different combinations of human electronics near alien equipment. The breakthrough came when Turner was working late one night. He had connected an old heart monitor to a radio transmitter. The machine was picking up his heartbeat and turning it into radio waves. When he brought a piece of alien shield technology near it, something amazing happened. The alien shield flickered and went dark. Turner tested it again and again. Every time, the result was the same. The alien technology could not handle the chaotic patterns of human brain waves and heartbeats. The aliens had built their machines to deal with organized, predictable energy patterns. Human biology created random, messy signals that confused their systems. Turner realized that this discovery could change everything. He wrote down his findings and created a coded message. He knew that resistance groups around the world needed this information. Ben Carter received the message 3 days later while monitoring emergency radio channels. Jake Morrison read Turner's message with growing excitement. The aliens were not as perfect as they seemed. Their greatest strength was also their weakness. They were too organized, too predictable. They could not adapt to the messy, chaotic way that humans thought and acted. Susan Blake immediately began working on ways to use this discovery. She took apart old radios and computers. She connected them to devices that could measure human heartbeats and brain activity. She created weapons that used human biological signals to disrupt alien technology. The first test came when an alien patrol got too close to their hiding place. Lisa Rodriguez volunteered to try the new weapon. She strapped on the device that Blake had built. It looked like a backpack filled with old electronics and wires. When she turned it on, it began reading her heartbeat and turning it into energy waves. Lisa climbed to the surface and waited for the alien patrol. When they came, around the corner, she activated the weapon. The lead alien stopped moving. Its shield began to flicker. The other aliens looked confused. They had never seen their technology fail before. Lisa fired her regular rifle at the confused alien. The bullet went right through its failed shield. The alien fell to the ground. The others retreated quickly, their perfect formation broken. Jake. Morrison smiled for the first time in months. Humanity finally had a way to fight back. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They had assumed that humans would behave like every other species they had conquered. They did not understand that human chaos and unpredictability were not weaknesses. They were weapons. The Resistance was about to show the Zephyrians what humans could do when they stopped trying to be logical and started being themselves. Colonel Ryan Mitchell had been hiding in the mountains for 2 months when he received Dr. Turner's message. The military base was built deep inside the Rocky Mountains during the Cold War. It was designed to survive nuclear attacks, but the builders never imagined it would need to protect humans from aliens. Mitchell read the encoded message 3 times before he believed it. The aliens could be hurt. Their shields could fail. Human biology was the key to defeating them. He immediately began sending messages to every resistance group he could contact. Within hours, similar tests were happening across the country. High above Earth, War Commander Zek Thal stood in the command center of the main Zephyrian ship. He was frustrated in a way that his species rarely experienced. The conquest of Earth should have been finished weeks ago. Every other planet had surrendered within days of seeing Zephyrian power. But humans kept fighting even when victory seemed impossible. Zek Thal studied the reports from ground commanders. Human attacks were becoming more frequent and more effective. Worse, they made no logical sense. Humans would attack strong positions while ignoring weak ones. They would retreat when they should advance. They would fight hardest when they should surrender. The war commander had conquered 17 worlds for the Zephyrian Empire. He understood warfare and strategy. But human behavior followed no pattern he could recognize. Their tactics seemed random and chaotic. Yet somehow, these random attacks were working. In Nevada, pilot Amy Harrison was preparing for the most dangerous mission of her life. She had been a test pilot before the invasion. Now she flew stolen alien technology modified with human electronics. Susan Blake had spent 2 weeks installing Turner's chaos generators into Harrison's fighter plane. The target was an alien communication base built on top of a mesa in the desert. The base was heavily shielded and protected by patrol ships. No human attack had ever succeeded against such a target. But Harrison's plane was different. It carried weapons that used her own heartbeat and brainwaves as ammunition. Harrison took off at dawn. Her plane looked like a mix of human and alien technology. Wires and circuits covered every surface. The chaos generators hummed with electricity. As she flew toward the target, the generators read her thoughts and emotions. They turned her excitement and fear into energy patterns that confused alien sensors. The alien patrol ships detected her approach, but their targeting systems could not lock onto her plane. The chaos generators made her aircraft invisible to their logical scanning methods. Harrison flew straight through their defensive line without being hit by a single shot. She attacked the communication base with weapons that fired pure human chaos. The energy beams contained the random patterns of her heartbeat mixed with her brain waves. When they hit the alien shields, the barriers flickered and died. Harrison's conventional missiles found their targets easily. The communication base exploded in a ball of blue fire. Harrison flew away while alien patrol ships tried desperately to catch her, but their predictable flight patterns made them easy to avoid. She returned to base with proof that major alien installations could be destroyed. Colonel Mitchell received Harrison's report with growing excitement. He began planning larger attacks using the same principles. Human unpredictability was more than just a tactic. It was a weapon that the aliens could not counter or understand. Dr. Turner continued his research in Boston. He discovered that different human emotions created different types of chaos patterns. Anger produced sharp, aggressive energy spikes. Fear created rapid, unpredictable fluctuations. Love and determination generated steady but complex waves that alien technology could not process. Turner shared these findings with resistance groups worldwide. Engineers like Susan Blake began building emotion-powered weapons. Soldiers learned to use their feelings as ammunition. The more human they acted, the more effective their weapons became. In Chicago, the aliens decided to make an example of human resistance. They sent 3 battle cruisers and 2,000 ground troops to retake the city. The attack was planned with perfect Zephyrian logic. They would surround the city, destroy all resistance, and capture any survivors for study. Commander Lisa Brooks had been preparing for this attack for weeks. She led a mixed group of soldiers, civilians, and resistance fighters. They had no heavy weapons and no air support. But they had something the aliens did not understand. They had human creativity and the willingness to try impossible things. Brooks divided her forces into small groups that would attack from unexpected directions. She gave each group freedom to choose their own targets and tactics. The only rule was to be as unpredictable as possible. Some groups would attack at dawn, others would wait until midnight, some would charge directly at alien positions, others would hide and ambush patrols. The alien ground commander was War Sub-Leader Vel Khan. He had studied human military history and expected organized resistance. He planned to counter human tactics with superior firepower and coordination. But when the battle began, nothing happened as he expected. Human attacks came from every direction at random times. Some humans fought with military precision. Others seemed to ignore all tactical sense. Groups would appear, attack, and disappear before alien forces could respond. The humans used music and art to coordinate their chaos generators. They painted targets with graffiti. They played loud rock music during attacks. Sergeant Mike Thompson led one of the strangest attacks of the battle. His group consisted of former teachers, store clerks, and mechanics. They had no military training, but they had something more valuable. They had the natural human ability to act without thinking too much. Thompson's group attacked an alien supply depot by pretending to be scared civilians. They walked toward the alien position with their hands up. The aliens, following logical protocols, prepared to capture them. But when the humans got close enough, they activated their chaos generators and opened fire. The alien shields failed. Immediately, the depot exploded, taking out critical supplies for the main assault force. Thompson's group escaped by splitting up and running in different directions. The aliens could not predict which way they would go because the humans themselves did not know. The Battle of Chicago lasted 3 days. When it ended, the aliens had lost 2 battle cruisers and most of their ground forces. They retreated to orbit, confused and demoralized. War Sub-Leader Vel Khan sent a report to War Commander Zekthal that made no sense to either of them. Humans had won by refusing to follow any logical pattern. They had turned their apparent weaknesses into strengths. Their chaotic emotions and unpredictable behavior had broken every rule of warfare that the Zephyrians understood. Zekthal read the report and felt something his species rarely experienced. For the first time since the invasion began, he wondered if the Zephyrian Empire had made a mistake. These humans were not like any enemy they had faced before. They were something new and dangerous. On Earth, the Resistance celebrated their first major victory. But leaders like Colonel Mitchell knew that this was only the beginning. The aliens would adapt and return with new strategies. Humanity needed to become even more unpredictable and chaotic if they wanted to survive. Lieutenant Commander Steve Walsh stood in front of 200 resistance fighters in an abandoned warehouse outside Detroit. These men and women came from every walk of life, former soldiers mixed with teachers, mechanics, and artists. They all had one thing in common. They wanted to learn how to fight aliens using pure human instinct. Walsh had thrown away every military manual he had ever read. Traditional tactics did not work against the Zephyrians. The aliens could predict and counter any organized strategy, but they could not understand human emotion and creativity. So Walsh was teaching something that had never been taught in any military academy. He was teaching chaos. The training began with simple exercises. Fighters would attack practice targets while listening to different types of music. Heavy metal made them aggressive and unpredictable. Classical music created complex patterns that confused alien sensors. Jazz improvisation produced the most chaotic energy signatures of all. Dr. Turner had arrived from Boston with a truck full of new equipment. He and engineer Carol Martinez had been working together to perfect the chaos generators. The new devices could read multiple human emotions at once and combine them into weapons that no alien computer could analyze. Martinez was a genius with electronics, but her greatest skill was understanding people. She realized that the most effective chaos came from teams of humans working together while expressing different emotions. An angry fighter combined with a fearful one created energy patterns that were completely unpredictable. The breakthrough came during a practice session. Walsh had divided the fighters into groups and told them to attack a mock alien position. One group was led by a former kindergarten teacher named Nancy Collins. She decided to use children's games as military tactics. Collins had her team play hide and seek while attacking targets. They used hopscotch patterns to move between positions. They sang nursery rhymes to coordinate their movements. The chaos generators responded to their playful emotions by creating energy fields that were completely unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. Dr. Turner watched the practice session with amazement. The energy readings from Collins's team were off the charts. Their weapons were 3 times more effective than conventional chaos generators. Turner realized that human playfulness and joy were among the most chaotic forces in the universe. The test of these new tactics came sooner than expected. Alien forces had established a major base near the ruins of Detroit. The base was protected by advanced shields and automated defenses. Intelligence reports said that the aliens were using it to study captured human technology and develop countermeasures. Commander Lisa Brooks arrived with reinforcements from Chicago. She brought news that similar alien research bases were being built around the world. The Zephyrians were trying to understand human chaos so they could defend against it. Time was running out for humanity to strike back. Walsh and Brooks planned the attack together. They decided to use 3 different groups, with completely different approaches. The first group would attack with pure aggression and anger. The second would use fear and desperation. The third would attack with joy and playfulness. Sergeant Mike Thompson led the anger group. His fighters listened to heavy metal music and thought about everything they had lost to the aliens. Their chaos generators fed off their rage and created weapons that burned through alien shields like acid through paper. The fear group was led by a former police officer named Dave Wilson. His team pretended to be terrified civilians running from alien patrols. But when they got close to the base, they activated their generators and attacked with the unpredictable energy of panic and desperation. Nancy Collins led the Joy group. Her fighters approached the base while playing games and telling jokes. They attacked alien positions while laughing and singing. The aliens had no protocols for dealing with enemies who seemed to be having fun while fighting. The 3 groups attacked from different directions at the same time. The alien defenders had never faced anything like it. Their logical minds could not process attacks based on human emotions. Their computers crashed when they tried to analyze the chaotic energy patterns. The base shields failed within minutes. Human fighters poured through the gaps, still expressing their assigned emotions. The aliens retreated in confusion. They had built their entire defensive strategy around logical assumptions that humans completely ignored. Inside the base, the resistance fighters found something that changed everything. The aliens had been studying human culture through captured internet data and entertainment. They had thousands of movies, songs, books, and video games, but they could not understand any of it. Dr. Turner found alien research notes that tried to analyze human art and entertainment. The aliens thought human stories were tactical manuals. They believed movies were training videos. They could not understand why humans created things that served no logical purpose. Carol Martinez discovered that the aliens had been trying to build their own chaos generators based on human technology, but every attempt had failed because they could not replicate human emotions. Their artificial chaos was too organized and predictable to be truly chaotic. The captured data revealed something even more important. The aliens had recorded human behavior during the invasion. They were trying to find patterns in human actions that would allow them to predict future resistance movements. But the data showed only randomness and contradiction. Commander Brooks realized that humanity's greatest advantage was becoming clearer. The aliens could copy human technology, but they could not copy the human spirit. They could analyze human tactics, but they could not understand human motivation. The successful attack on the Detroit base sent shockwaves through the Zephyrian fleet. War Commander Zek Thal received reports of impossible human victories across the planet. His ground commanders were requesting new strategies to deal with enemies who refused to behave logically. Zek Thal studied the reports and came to a disturbing conclusion. The Zephyrian Empire had never encountered a species like humanity. Every other conquered race had eventually accepted defeat and submitted to logical rule. But humans seemed to become more chaotic and unpredictable when faced with impossible odds. The war commander called a meeting of his senior staff. They discussed the possibility of using more extreme measures to force human surrender. Some suggested destroying entire cities to break human morale. Others recommended retreating from Earth and declaring it unconquerable, but Zek Thal refused to accept defeat. He had built his reputation on logical analysis and perfect strategy. There had to be a way to understand and counter human chaos. He ordered his scientists to double their efforts to decode human behavior patterns. On Earth, resistance groups celebrated their growing success. But leaders like Walsh and Brooks knew that the aliens would not give up easily. The Zephyrians would adapt and return with new weapons and strategies. Humanity needed to become even more chaotic and unpredictable. Dr. Turner and Carol Martinez began working on the next generation of chaos weapons. These devices would not just read human emotions. They would amplify and combine them in ways that created pure, concentrated chaos. The weapons would be powered by the most human thing of all, the ability to hope and dream even when facing certain death. Lieutenant Commander Walsh looked at his fighters and felt proud of what they had accomplished. They had taken ordinary people and turned them into weapons that the most advanced alien civilization could not understand or defeat. They had proven that being human was not a weakness to overcome. It was a strength to embrace. President Maria Gonzalez sat in the Emergency Command Center buried 500 feet beneath the Colorado mountains. For 4 months, she had watched her country and her world burn under alien occupation. Now, for the first time since the invasion began, she felt hope. The reports coming in from resistance groups around the world all told the same story. Human fighters using chaos weapons were winning battles that should have been impossible. The aliens were retreating from positions they had held for months. Their perfect war machine was breaking down when faced with human unpredictability. Gonzalez studied the intelligence reports spread across the table in front of her. Similar resistance movements were active on every continent. In London, Captain Nick Davis had turned the city's subway tunnels into a maze of chaos generator stations. The aliens could not navigate the underground because human emotions filled the tunnels with confusing energy patterns. In Mexico City, Commander Elena Vasquez had trained her fighters to use art and music as weapons. They painted murals on walls that contained chaos patterns. They played concerts in ruined buildings while attacking alien patrols. The aliens could not understand why humans would risk their lives to create beauty in the middle of war. In Sydney, Colonel Tom Harris had discovered that different cultures produced different types of chaos. Aboriginal Dreamtime stories created energy patterns that were completely alien to Zephyrian logic. Cricket matches generated chaos through complex rules that made no sense to non-humans. Even Australian humor confused alien computers. Gonzalez made the decision that would change the course of the war. She authorized Operation Humanity's Fury, a coordinated global attack on every major alien installation on Earth. The attack would happen simultaneously across all time zones. Every resistance group would strike at exactly the same moment using chaos weapons powered by pure human emotion. Dr. Turner had moved his research to the command center. He worked with teams of scientists and engineers from around the world through encrypted video links. Together, they had created the most powerful chaos generators ever built. These weapons could channel the emotions of entire populations into focused energy beams. The key discovery was that human emotions became stronger when shared with others. A single angry person created a small amount of chaos, but 1,000 angry people thinking about the same thing created chaos that could destroy alien motherships. Love, hope, and determination worked the same way but created different types of destructive energy. Carol Martinez had spent weeks setting up global communication networks that could synchronize chaos generators worldwide. The plan was simple, but ambitious. At exactly noon, Greenwich Mean Time, every human on Earth would focus their emotions on the same goal. The combined chaos of 7 billion human minds would power weapons that could break any alien defense. War Commander Zekthal sensed that something was changing. His ground commanders reported increasing human activity in all sectors. Resistance attacks were becoming more coordinated. Worse, they were becoming more effective. Alien casualties were mounting, while human losses remained surprisingly low. The Zephyrian fleet had lost 12 battlecruisers in the past month. Each loss came from attacks that made no tactical sense. Humans would sacrifice themselves for no logical reason. They would attack superior forces with inferior weapons. They would fight hardest when victory seemed impossible. Zekthal ordered, increase patrols and defensive measures. He moved more ships into Earth's atmosphere and reinforced ground positions. But every precaution he took seemed to make human attacks more successful. The aliens were trapped in their own logical thinking, while humans operated by rules that no computer could understand. The countdown to Operation Humanity's Fury began at dawn on a Tuesday morning. Resistance fighters around the world prepared their chaos generators and checked their weapons. Regular humans who had never held a gun were taught how to focus their emotions into the global network. Captain Danny Roberts led a squadron of modified fighter planes toward the main Zephyrian mothership in orbit. His pilots had trained for weeks to fly using instinct instead of instruments. Their planes were equipped with chaos generators that turned their flying skills into weapons. The more creatively they flew, the more damage their weapons could do. Roberts himself was powered by a combination of determination and grief. He had lost his family in the first alien attacks, but instead of making him weak, the loss had made him more human. His grief created chaos patterns that no alien computer could predict or counter. The global attack began exactly on schedule. In London, Davis led his fighters up from the subway tunnels. They emerged singing football chants while firing chaos weapons at alien positions. In Mexico City, Vasquez's artists attacked while painting murals on alien vehicles. In Sydney, Harris's team fought while performing traditional dances. The synchronized emotion of billions of humans created a chaos field that surrounded the entire planet. Alien sensors went crazy trying to process the data. Their computers crashed. When they tried to analyze energy patterns created by human art, music, love, anger, hope, and determination all mixed together. President Gonzalez watched the battle from the command center. Video feeds from around the world showed the same thing. Alien defenses were failing everywhere. Shields that had been impenetrable for months were collapsing under the assault of pure human chaos. Above the planet, Captain Roberts and his squadron reached the main mothership. The massive alien vessel was protected by energy barriers that could stop nuclear weapons, but Roberts's chaos-powered missiles went through the shields like they were made of paper. The mothership's defensive systems tried to target the human fighters, but the pilots were flying in patterns based on emotion, rather than logic. They rolled and turned and dove in ways that made no tactical sense, but felt right to human instincts. The alien computers could not calculate intercept courses for targets that moved based on feelings. Roberts flew his plane directly at the mothership's command center. His chaos generator was overloading from the intensity of his emotions. Warning lights flashed in his cockpit, but he ignored them. He thought about his family and everyone else who had died in the invasion. He thought about the children who would grow up free if this attack succeeded. His missile struck the mothership's main reactor just as his chaos generator exploded from emotional overload. The alien ship broke apart in a ball of blue fire that could be seen from the ground. Roberts did not survive the explosion, but his sacrifice created a chaos burst that disabled 3 other alien ships. War Commander Zek Thal felt his flagship shudder as the mothership died. He was aboard a smaller command vessel that had been protected by the larger ship's shields. Now he found himself alone in space, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet. For the first time in his military career, Zekthal felt something that his species had no name for. Humans would have called it fear. His logical mind told him that retreat was the only sensible option, but his pride as a Zephyrian commander demanded that he continue fighting. On the surface of Earth, the battle continued for 6 more hours. Alien ground forces fought desperately, but could not coordinate effectively without orbital support. Their communication networks were jammed by chaos interference. Their weapons were failing as human emotions overloaded their targeting systems. By sunset, every major alien installation on Earth had been destroyed or abandoned. Zephyrian forces retreated to a few heavily defended positions while their commanders tried to understand what had happened. In a single day, humanity had turned the tide of a war that had seemed hopeless. President Gonzalez addressed the world that evening from the Emergency Command Center. She spoke to resistance fighters and ordinary citizens who had all played a part in the victory. She told them that this was not the end of the war, but it was the beginning of the end. Dr. Turner and Carol Martinez were already working on the next phase of their research. They had learned that human chaos was not just a weapon. It was a force of nature that could reshape reality itself. The aliens had underestimated humanity's greatest power, the ability to feel deeply and dream impossible dreams. War Commander Zekthal sat in his damaged command ship and composed a message to the Zephyrian Empire. He would tell them that Earth was not like other conquered worlds. Humans were not like other defeated species. They were something new and dangerous that the galaxy had never seen before. The tide of war had turned, but both sides knew that the final battle was still to come. Admiral Patricia King stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, humanity's first chaos-powered starship. The vessel had been built from salvaged alien technology, combined with human engineering, and powered by the collective emotions of its crew. It looked like no ship that had ever flown, with organic curves mixed with angular alien metal and human electronics scattered across every surface. King had been a naval officer before the invasion. She understood traditional warfare and ship-to-ship combat, but the Liberty was not a traditional warship. It was a weapon designed to carry human chaos directly to the enemy. Every system on the ship was linked to the emotions of the crew. The more they felt, the stronger the ship became. The mission was humanity's most ambitious yet. Intelligence. Reports showed that War Commander Zekthal had retreated to the main Zephyrian command vessel in high orbit above Earth. The massive ship contained the alien fleet's central computer systems and communication networks. If it could be destroyed, the remaining alien forces would lose coordination and be forced to retreat. Commander Jason Miller led the assault team that would board the alien command ship. His team included Chris Anderson, a demolitions expert, who had learned to make explosives more powerful by mixing them with chaos energy. Sarah Thompson was a combat medic who could heal wounds faster when she focused on her love for her patients. The boarding team had trained for weeks using alien technology captured during recent battles. They knew that the command ship would be filled with automated defenses and heavily armed guards, but they also knew that human unpredictability gave them advantages that no alien computer could calculate. Dr. Turner participated in the mission through remote communication links. He had discovered that human emotions could be transmitted across vast distances using quantum entanglement principles. The boarding team would carry quantum transmitters that would allow Turner to monitor their emotional states and provide tactical advice based on chaos theory. The Liberty launched from a hidden base in the Nevada desert. The ship's chaos engines were powered by the combined emotions of resistance fighters around the world. Every human who had lost someone in the invasion, every child who dreamed of freedom, every fighter who refused to surrender contributed their feelings to the ship's power systems. As the Liberty climbed toward orbit, its crew felt the weight of human hope and determination flowing through the ship's systems. The vessel itself seemed alive, responding to their emotions like a living creature. When pilot Maria Santos felt excitement about flying among the stars, the ship moved faster. When gunner Pete Williams felt anger about alien atrocities, the weapons charged with deadly energy. War Commander Zekthal detected the approaching human ship long before it reached orbit. His sensors showed a vessel that made no logical sense. It was too small to threaten his massive command ship, but it radiated energy patterns that confused every analysis program in his computer systems. Zekthal ordered his defensive fleet to intercept the human vessel. 12 battle cruisers moved to block the Liberty's approach. Their commanders were confident that a single human ship could not survive against such overwhelming firepower. They had learned nothing from humanity's previous victories. The space battle that followed broke every rule of tactical warfare. The Liberty moved through the alien formation like it was dancing rather than fighting. Pilot Santos flew by instinct, letting her emotions guide the ship through impossible maneuvers. The alien ships fired thousands of shots but could not hit. A target that moved based on human feelings rather than logical flight patterns. The Liberty's weapons were equally unpredictable. Gunner Williams fired chaos beams that changed direction in mid-flight, following paths that made sense only to human intuition. The alien ship's shields were designed to stop conventional energy weapons. They could not adapt to attacks powered by pure human emotion. Within an hour, 6 alien battle cruisers had been destroyed, and the others were retreating in confusion. The Liberty continued toward the command ship, its crew more determined than ever. They had proven that human chaos could defeat alien logic even in the depths of space. Admiral King brought the Liberty alongside the massive command ship and activated the boarding systems. The human vessel attached itself to the alien hull like a parasite, using cutting tools powered by the crew's determination to burn through the enemy's armor. Commander Miller led his team through the breach into the alien ship's corridors. The interior was a maze of crystalline passages and floating platforms that defied human understanding of architecture. But Miller's team did not try to understand alien logic. They followed their instincts and moved through the ship like they were exploring a familiar building. The alien ship's automated defenses activated as soon as the humans entered. Laser turrets emerged from the walls and began firing at the intruders. but Chris Anderson had programmed their equipment to respond to the team's emotional states. When they felt threatened, their armor became stronger. When they felt aggressive, their weapons became more powerful. Sarah Thompson used her medical knowledge and chaos generators to create protective fields around the team. Her love and concern for her teammates transformed into energy barriers that stopped alien weapons. The more she cared about keeping them alive, the stronger her defenses became. The team fought their way deeper into the ship, leaving a trail of disabled alien technology behind them. Every system they encountered was designed to operate on logical principles. Human chaos overloaded circuits and confused targeting systems wherever they went. Dr. Turner monitored their progress from Earth, watching the quantum transmitters that showed each team member's emotional state. He provided guidance by analyzing how their feelings affected the alien technology around them. When Miller felt confident, doors opened more easily. When Anderson felt creative, his explosives worked better. The final obstacle was War Commander, Zekthal himself. The alien commander waited in the ship's central control chamber, surrounded by the most advanced defensive systems his species had ever created. He had studied human behavior for months and believed he finally understood how to defeat them. Zekthal had prepared logical arguments to convince the humans to surrender. He would offer them terms that any rational species would accept. He would explain that resistance was futile and that cooperation would benefit both races. He was certain that human logic would eventually overcome their chaotic emotions. But when Commander Miller's team entered the control chamber, they did not behave as Zekthal expected. They did not stop to listen to his arguments or negotiate terms. They simply attacked with the full force of their human emotions. Miller felt determination to protect his planet. Anderson felt joy in using his demolition skills for a worthy cause. Thompson felt love for all the people she was fighting to save. The alien defenses could not process the complex mix of human emotions that filled the control chamber. Weapons. Systems shut down when they tried to analyze targets that radiated love, anger, hope, and determination simultaneously. Shield generators overloaded when they encountered energy patterns based on human creativity rather than alien logic. Zekthal found himself face-to-face with enemies he could not understand or predict. He tried to use his weapons, but the humans moved in ways that his computers could not track. He tried to reason with them, but they responded with actions that made no logical sense. Chris Anderson placed his charges throughout the control chamber, while Sarah Thompson protected him with emotional energy fields. Commander Miller faced Zekthal directly, his chaos generator creating interference that disabled the alien commander's armor and weapons. For the first time in his military career, Zekthal felt completely helpless. He was surrounded by creatures that operated by rules his species had never encountered. They were not stronger or smarter than Zephyrians, but they were something far more dangerous. They were unpredictable. The control chamber exploded in a burst of chaos energy that spread throughout the entire command ship. Alien systems failed in cascade patterns as human emotions overloaded their logical circuits. The massive vessel began to break apart as its computer networks collapsed under the weight of pure human chaos. Commander Miller's team escaped in the Liberty just as the command ship died. They watched from a safe distance as the largest alien vessel ever built tore itself apart. The explosion could be seen from Earth's surface, a bright star that announced humanity's greatest victory. War Commander Zekthal survived the destruction of his ship, but his confidence in Zephyrian superiority died with it. He found himself alone in an escape pod, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet. For the first time, he understood that humans were not just another species to be conquered. They were something entirely new in the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the roof of a rebuilt building in downtown Denver, watching the sunrise paint the sky in brilliant colors. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the Zephyrian command ship. The alien fleet had retreated. beyond the outer planets, but scattered battles still raged across Earth as humanity hunted down the remaining invaders. The final battle was about to begin. Intelligence reports showed that War Commander Zekthal had gathered the survivors of his fleet at a staging area near Jupiter. The aliens were preparing for one last, desperate assault on Earth. This time, they claimed to understand human chaos and had developed countermeasures. Morrison no longer led a small resistance cell hiding in tunnels. He now commanded the global Human Defense Force, a combined military organization that united all the resistance groups that had fought the aliens. His soldiers came from every nation and culture on Earth. They were bound together by their shared humanity and their refusal to surrender. Major Lisa Kim had taken command of the space-based forces. She led a fleet of chaos-powered ships built from human ingenuity and captured alien technology. Each vessel was crewed by people whose emotions had been fine-tuned to create maximum chaos output. They were not just soldiers, they were artists of war who painted victory with their feelings. The space battle began when Zekthal's fleet entered the solar system for the final time. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, their logical minds convinced that they had solved the puzzle of human unpredictability. They had studied every human victory and believed they had found patterns in the chaos. But humanity had evolved beyond the aliens' understanding. Dr. Turner and Carol Martinez had discovered that human chaos was not random at all. It followed deep patterns that connected to the fundamental forces of creativity and love. When humans worked together with shared purpose, their combined chaos became a force that could reshape reality itself. Major Kim led her fleet into battle with orders that would have seemed insane to any military academy. Her pilots were told to fly like they were dancing, to fight like they were playing, to attack with joy instead of anger. The space around Earth filled with human ships that moved like living things rather than machines. The alien fleet opened fire with weapons designed to counter chaos fields. But the humans were no longer generating simple chaos. They were creating something new, a form of organized disorder that was both predictable and completely unpredictable at the same time. It was chaos that made sense only to human hearts. Captain Danny Roberts had been replaced by Lieutenant Amy Foster, a pilot who had learned to fly by watching birds and dreaming of freedom. She led her squadron in an attack that looked like a flock of swallows dancing through a storm. Her planes moved in patterns that were both beautiful and deadly, following the mathematics of nature rather than the logic of war. The alien formation began to break apart as human fighters slipped through their defenses like water flowing around rocks. Zekthal watched his perfect battle plan crumble as the humans refused to behave according to his calculations. They fought with a combination of precision and randomness that his computers could not process. On Earth, the ground forces prepared for the aliens' final assault. Commander Steve Walsh had trained a new generation of chaos warriors who fought with weapons powered by pure human spirit. They carried music into battle and attacked with the rhythm of their hearts. They painted their faces with colors that meant hope and wore symbols that represented their dreams. The alien ground assault began with a desperation that surprised the human defenders. Zekthal had ordered his troops to ignore all logical tactics and simply overwhelm the humans with raw force. It was a strategy born of frustration rather than military planning. But the human defenders were ready. Nancy Collins, now a general, had taught entire armies to fight like children playing games. They used tactics based on playground rules and schoolyard strategies. They turned war into a form of creative expression that the aliens could never understand or counter. The battle raged across continents as human chaos met alien desperation. In Asia, fighters used martial arts forms that channeled emotional energy into physical force. In Africa, warriors fought with the rhythm of ancient drums that confused alien sensors. In Europe, soldiers attacked while singing folk songs that Their grandparents had taught them. In the skies above Earth, Major Kim's fleet engaged the main alien force in a battle that would determine the fate of both species. Her ships fought with a coordination that was both perfect and completely chaotic. They moved like a symphony made of starlight and determination. The turning point came when War Commander Zekthal himself entered the battle in his personal command ship. He had modified his vessel with technology designed to neutralize human chaos fields. He was certain that he could defeat the humans by using their own weapons against them. But when Zekthal fired his chaos neutralizer at the human fleet, something unexpected happened. Instead of shutting down the human weapons, the device amplified them. The aliens had tried to copy human chaos without understanding that it could not be separated from human emotion. Their artificial chaos was sterile and powerless compared to the real thing. The feedback from his own weapon destroyed Zekthal's ship and sent chaos waves through the entire alien fleet. One by one, the enemy vessels lost power and began drifting, helplessly through space. The Zephyrian Empire's greatest military force had been defeated by their own attempt to use human weapons. War Commander Zekthal found himself once again in an escape pod, but this time he was not alone. Captain Morrison had ordered the rescue of surviving aliens, not from mercy but from curiosity. Humanity wanted to understand their former enemies as much as the aliens had tried to understand them. In the interrogation chamber aboard the USS Liberty, Zekthal met with Dr. Turner and President Gonzalez. The alien commander looked tired and defeated, his crystalline features dull with exhaustion. For the first time, he was ready to admit that the Zephyrian Empire had made a fundamental error. Turner asked the question that had puzzled both species throughout the war. Why had the Zephyrians attacked Earth when they could have simply asked for what they needed? The galaxy was vast and full of resources. There was no logical reason for conflict. Zekthal's answer revealed the true tragedy of the war. The Zephyrian Empire had attacked Earth not for resources or territory, but because they were afraid. They had encountered other chaotic species in the past and had always destroyed them before they could become a threat. Humanity's unpredictability terrified them in ways they did not understand. The aliens had never learned to coexist with chaos because they had always eliminated it before it could challenge their ordered society. They had become prisoners of their own logic, unable to adapt to anything that did not fit their predetermined patterns. President Gonzalez made an offer that surprised everyone, including the humans in the room. She proposed that the surviving Zephyrians be allowed to settle on Earth as refugees. They would live in designated areas where they could maintain their logical society while gradually learning to coexist with human chaos. The proposal was controversial among both species. Many humans wanted revenge for the destruction and death the aliens had caused. Many Zephyrians could not imagine living among creatures they still considered dangerously unpredictable. But some members of both species saw the wisdom in the plan. Dr. Turner realized that humans could learn much from Zephyrian logic and organization. Zekthal admitted that his people needed to understand chaos if they were ever to evolve beyond their current limitations. The war ended not with the destruction of either species, but with an experiment in coexistence that would challenge both races to become something new. Human settlements began to include Zephyrian districts where aliens could live according to their logical principles. Alien technology was integrated with human creativity to produce innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. Captain Morrison returned to Denver to oversee the reconstruction of his city. The new buildings combined human artistic vision with alien engineering precision. Children played in parks where both species learned to understand each other through games that had no winners or losers. The greatest victory was not the defeat of the alien fleet, but the discovery that two completely different forms of consciousness could find ways to coexist. Humanity had not just won a war, they had expanded the definition of what it meant to be alive and intelligent in the universe. Years later, when the first human Zephyrian colony ships left for distant stars, they carried crews of both species, working together. The ships were powered by a new form of energy that combined human chaos with alien order. They represented something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization that embraced both logic and emotion as equally valid ways of understanding reality. The children of both species grew up learning that diversity of thought was not a weakness to be feared, but a strength to be celebrated. They played games that had rules but encouraged creative interpretation. They learned science that was both logical and intuitive, art that was both structured and free. War Commander Zek Thal, now simply called Zek, worked as a teacher in a mixed school in New Denver.